In the chilled stillness of early winter, nestled in the rolling hills of Moscow, Idaho, a small college town held tightly to its routines. The University of Idaho, a centerpiece of the community, bustled with student life. Bonfires, fraternity parties, late-night cramming sessions. A sense of safety hung in the air, casual, quiet, and undisturbed, until it was ripped away. In the early morning hours of November 13th, 2022, four college students, Kaylee Goncalves, Madison Mogen, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin, were brutally murdered in their off-campus home at 1122 King Road. What unfolded that night would become one of the most chilling and high-profile murder investigations of the decade. The scene was so shocking that even seasoned investigators were shaken. No signs of forced entry. Two other roommates in the house slept through the attack. There was no apparent motive, no suspect, and few clues, at least at first. This was not just another crime in a college town. This was calculated, intimate, silent. And as the public clamored for answers, authorities turned to science, surveillance, and a methodical web of digital breadcrumbs. What they found would lead them to a man few had suspected, a man who studied the minds of killers, a man who had sat in lecture halls dissecting case files and psychological theories, a man who, if the prosecution is correct, stepped beyond observation into action. His name is Bryan Kohberger. Chapter 1, The Victims. Before diving into the accused, we must remember the lives that were taken, because this is their story first. Kaylee Goncalves, 21, was described as bold, loyal, and full of life. She was set to graduate early and had just bought her first car. She had plans. She had dreams. Madison Mogen, 21, Kaylee's best friend since childhood. She was radiant, dependable, and the kind of person whose presence made others feel safe. Xana Kernodle, 20, fiercely independent and full of energy. She was dating Ethan and was known for her quick wit and warm smile. Ethan Chapin, a triplet, a devoted brother, and a beloved member of the Sigma Chi fraternity. He was known for his kindness, athleticism, and protective nature. That Saturday night, they laughed, danced, and shared one last ordinary moment of youth. By morning, everything had changed. Chapter 2, The Crime Scene. At 11:58 a.m. on November 13th, a call came in to 911 reporting an unconscious person at the King Road house. Police arrived to find a scene of unimaginable horror. The victims had been stabbed multiple times, believed to be asleep when the attacks began. The killer had moved swiftly and silently through the house, possibly in under 20 minutes, before vanishing without a trace. Two roommates sleeping on the ground floor were physically unharmed. One of them, later revealed in court documents, reported seeing a tall figure dressed in black walking past her door, masked, silent, and leaving through the sliding glass door. The knife used was never recovered, but one mistake would change everything. A tan leather knife sheath, reportedly left on the bed next to one of the victims. It contained DNA and would become the case's smoking gun. Chapter 3. Who is Bryan Kohberger? Bryan Christopher Kohberger was born in 1994 in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania. Growing up, he was academically gifted but socially awkward. He struggled with weight and bullying, which reportedly impacted his sense of self-worth. In his late teens, he began a transformation, losing weight, growing more confident, but also, as some former classmates noted, becoming more intense and withdrawn. He pursued a degree in psychology at DeSales University, then a master's in criminal justice, and finally began a PhD in criminology at Washington State University in Pullman, just 10 miles from Moscow, Idaho. Kohberger was fascinated by serial killers. He studied criminal behavior, often diving into the psychology of violence. In one now widely circulated survey, he asked participants, some of them convicted criminals, to describe their thoughts, emotions, and behaviors during the commission of crimes. It was research that felt academic. Now it feels chilling. He lived alone in a small apartment on campus. He was a teaching assistant, though some students described him as distant, sometimes overly harsh. There were moments when he seemed cold. Others found him intelligent, articulate, and deeply analytical. He kept mostly to himself. But if the prosecution's case is accurate, beneath his calm, methodical demeanor, something was brewing. Something dark. Chapter 4, The Digital Trail. The investigation moved slowly and quietly, until suddenly it didn't. Over weeks, authorities analyzed thousands of tips, conducted door-to-door interviews, and reviewed extensive security footage. But it was technology that cracked the case open. They identified a white Hyundai Elantra seen circling the King Road house multiple times in the early morning hours of November 13. The car was traced to Kohberger. Using cell tower data, they tracked his phone's movement, placing him in the vicinity of the victim's house on at least 12 occasions prior to the murders. On the night in question, the phone was either turned off or in airplane mode, allegedly to avoid detection, before being turned back on hours later on a road heading away from Moscow. But it was the DNA on the knife sheath linked via familial genealogy to Kohberger's father that brought the case together. On December 30th, 2022, Kohberger was arrested at his parents' home in Pennsylvania, where he had returned for winter break. He was reportedly pulled over twice during a cross-country drive, body cam footage showing him calm, even composed. He was extradited back to Idaho to face charges. His appearance in court, tall, gaunt, expressionless, sent a shiver through the nation. Chapter 5, The Aftermath. The case is ongoing. Kohberger has been charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of felony burglary. He has pleaded not guilty. His defense team has challenged the evidence, questioned the procedures, and is expected to mount a robust defense. Prosecutors are seeking the death penalty. The trial will likely stretch into 2025 or beyond. In the meantime, court documents have slowly unveiled more evidence: potential alibis, search histories, digital forensics, and psychological profiles. But beyond the legal maze lies a community forever changed. The families, bonded in grief, continue to fight for their children's memory, and students now walk campus paths with new eyes, wary, hardened, forever altered. What drives someone to obsess over criminal psychology, to spend their days studying the darkest impulses of humanity, and then, if proven guilty, act them out? If Bryan Kohberger is found guilty, it will mark one of the most chilling cases of criminal transformation, where a man stepped so deep into his studies that he may have stopped observing and started participating. If he is innocent, then the real killer is still out there. But for now, the world watches. The courtroom waits, and 4 young lives, full of light, remain the most important voices in this tragic story. You've just heard the story of Bryan Kohberger, a man of deep study, silent corridors, and dark questions. A name now synonymous with suspicion, a case still unraveling. We don't have every answer, not yet. The courtroom has not spoken its final word. The evidence will be tested. The voices of the lost will echo through every page of testimony. But what we do know is this: 4 young lives were taken in a place that once felt safe. And whether through science or confession, through testimony or truth, they deserve justice. We tell these stories not to glorify the darkness, but to understand it, to shine a light where others fear to look. Because sometimes the most terrifying monsters don't hide in the shadows. They stand among us. Quiet, polite, watching. Thank you for walking with us through this difficult chapter. If this story moved you, take a moment to share it, to remember the victims, to keep the questions alive. This is Voices from the Void, where the shadows speak and we refuse to look away. Until next time, stay safe, stay aware, and never forget what can hide behind a familiar face.